Hello and welcome. My name is Amata and I'm going to give you all the latest in gaming as of the 2nd of April 2012. The Fear developer, which is obviously Monolith, the guys who most recently did Gotham City Imposters, are rumoured to be making the Hobbit game, which is obviously a tie-in with the upcoming Peter Jackson film, which is set to launch in December. This is according to Superannuation, who claimed on Twitter, "As to what Monolith/WB Games Seattle is up to now, pretty sure it is a little fancy action RPG called The Hobbit Part 1. It also sounds like WB Seattle will be handling the tie-in for the second Hobbit film." So yeah, it's an interesting choice. I mean, Monolith is a fairly decent developer. I mean, we've got the Fear games, and then you've got Gotham City Imposters as well, which I haven't had a chance to play myself, but from what I've seen, it looks like a pretty fun, manic game. But The Hobbit would obviously be something very different from what they've done before, since they're kind of known for being a PC FPS developer. But not saying they can't make it, it's just a bit of change for them to be like an action RPG kind of thing. Probably not quite like Skyrim, but in a similar vein. Maybe like The Witcher or something like that, you know, in that kind of vein. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with this, and I look forward to seeing some actual trailers and demos and things like that to see what exactly they're going to do. I just hope they don't try and rush it out with the film, because that's often the pit that many sort of games that tie to films fall into. That's often where they suck as well, because they're rushed and they're very sort of tightly constrained as to what they can do. They have to follow the plot of the film and stuff like that. So, but if it's going to be an RPG, I highly doubt that that's going to be the case. I hope not anyway, because, you know, as we all know, one of the greatest movie tie-in games ever is, you know, GoldenEye, and that was not released with the film. So that should be a prime example to anyone looking to do this kind of thing, that it's better to just take your time and release a well-made game with the brand name, and give something that people will enjoy, and maybe even, you know, play a remake of it in a few years or whatever. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with this. Sega of America has recently announced that there could be some layoffs heading our way. Now, basically this is because of the parent company's recent announced plans to restructure its loss-making games business and focus on established IP, which basically means that games like Sonic and Football Manager and any digital content as well is going to be focused on. So we're still going to be seeing Jet Set Radio HD and the rumoured Shenmue remakes get actually released outside of Japan. So we're not going to lose out on those, but other Sega games such as Virtua Fighter 5, Super Monkey Ball, Yakuza 5, and they could possibly be at risk, and they might possibly be cut as they try to get rid of all the things that aren't really making them money, as they lay off people and just try to cut some of their losses, I suppose, because obviously, based on what they said, they're not doing all that well. Now, they said that, I'm going to quote here, "Due to the challenging economic climate and significant changes within the interactive gaming industry, Sega has made the decision to consolidate its publishing business in order to focus on developing digital content and driving its existing IP, such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Total War, Football Manager, and the Aliens franchise." So yeah, it's not really boding well for them at the moment, but hopefully this decision will help them stay afloat. I mean, they have been kind of struggling for a while. It kind of makes sense for them to stick with well-known IP, but, you know, the things that they're cutting aren't exactly obscure. And it's interesting that they've decided to go with Sonic, because although Sonic Generations, which was recently released, was actually a fairly decent game for once, Sonic games still don't actually have the best reputation with gamers. They've kind of got a thing for being really terrible, and the only reason they're really bought is out of nostalgia, but most people who know anything will know to stay away from them unless they hear otherwise that it's actually good, like with Sonic Generations, for example. So yeah, it's interesting that they've decided to stick with that one over any of the others, because, yeah, I guess they know the numbers, they know their sales figures. I guess Sonic, despite the bad games over the years, still does better than Yakuza or Virtua Fighter or any of those other mentioned games. So it's a real shame that we probably won't be seeing any of those titles anytime soon outside of Japan, or maybe at all. It is very understandable, and it's a smart decision from them to try and do this, because it's better to do this now and maybe come back and be able to make those games at a later date, rather than try and make it all and go on to trying. So yeah, A saddening but understandable decision from Sega. It looks like it's not all doom and gloom for the game group here in the UK. The group Op Capita, which bought the electricals company Comet a while ago, has confirmed that it's buying a large portion of the game group, according to multiple press reports. Now, basically, this will end up saving 333 stores and 3,100 jobs. Now, as you may remember, I mentioned in a previous news video that they actually had an offer rejected by Game before they went into administration, which ended up resulting in the closure of 227 stores and the loss of over 2,000 jobs. So yeah, I'm glad that they've accepted something now. I really didn't think there would be any more from them, that them going into administration and so many stores closing would pretty much be them. I mean, all their local stores around my area have closed. That's both the game and Game Station stores. So that's 3 stores just around here which have closed. But still, it's good that they've managed to do this, and this fee to acquire the chain by Op Capita has managed to save the UK part of their stuff. All the overseas stuff is still in trouble and up for sale. Now, basically, from the way this article reads, it seems like, they've named a new CEO and all that good stuff, and they're going to be changing their policies and basically trying to remake the face of game, which is good. I mean, as I said before many times now, if they did get bought out, that they would seriously need to consider changing their business practices, because how they treated their customers and how they basically screwed over developers all the years with pre-owned sales and threatening them with not selling their game in store if they didn't do certain things. All of that behaviour is kind of what led to this. That's the reason why, developers were so quick to turn around and say, no, we're not giving you a deal on our games if you pay this price or you don't get it. They were eager to kick them while they were down, and I don't really blame them after the way Game's been rinsing them the last few years. So I really hope that now this has happened and some of the stores have been saved, we'll see a turnaround in their business practices, and maybe they can salvage something and maybe reopen a couple of the stores that have been closed. I mean, that would be nice. I'd like to at least have one of the stores around my area reopen, because it's a real shame. It took, in my local town anyway, there wasn't even a game station until a few years ago, and it's not been there that long, and now it's obviously just closed down, and both of them in the sort of town next to mine, which is much bigger, had a game and a game station, both of which are now closed. So, obviously everyone would like their stores back in the local area, but still, I really hope that they kind of learn from their mistakes and don't continue as they were, because they will literally end up in this exact same position in a couple of years' time, maybe even not that long. If they continue the way they were behaving before, it's not really going to go well for them. So I really hope that this new company, they manage to save Comet, and hopefully they can save Game. Obviously they'll be looking very critically at their business model and things like that, and seeing where they went wrong. Obviously they're not going to invest all this money just to throw it away and just try and rinse, because they're smart enough to know that that's probably not going to work. So yeah, I'm a little bit hopeful, and hopefully they can bounce back from this and maybe even try and actually be a decent company again, because they bought Game Station and they were like pretty much the biggest specialist game store in the UK, especially, like I said, they bought Game Station as well, which is like their only competitor apart from the local stores, the independent ones, obviously. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this, and I really hope that it goes well for them, and I'm glad that at least some of the people working for Game have managed not to lose their jobs, because that was my main concern, really, not really for the company, but for people working for the company, because of course they have never done anything wrong. So yeah, it's a real shame that so many people had to lose their jobs, but at least some of the jobs have been saved. Anyway guys, that's me done for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.